That's the story that really we're talking about today. I'm reading this off the Indian Express. For the first time since COVID, AstraZeneca has admitted that its COVID vaccine, Covishield, can cause rare side effects. Now, this is what has happened. AstraZeneca has admitted in court documents that the COVID vaccine can cause rare side effects, paving way for a multi-million dollar payout. Now, the pharmaceutical company is being sued in a class action suit for this vaccine that you'll remember was developed by the University of Oxford. It's being accused of causing death and serious injury. Now, including thrombosis, I'm going to try and read this. Hang in there with me. Thrombosis with Thrombocytopenia Syndrome, which is TTS. It's called, let's just call it TTS further here on. So TTS, which has caused people to have blood clots and have low blood platelet count. Now, this was AstraZeneca in collaboration with the University of Oxford that developed this vaccine. And in India, it was manufactured by the Serum Institute of India in Pune, you'll remember, under Covishield. And India and many other countries in what is called now called the Global South or middle income, low income countries used Covishield in large numbers, according to the Telegraph, which has quoted this statement made by AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca has admitted in a legal document submitted to the court in February, and I'm just going to highlight that, it has said that its COVID vaccine can, in very rare cases, cause TTS. Now, TTS is thrombosis that causes blood clots and lowers platelet counts. The lawyers have argued that AstraZeneca, the lawyers arguing against the company have said that it's defective and that its efficacy is overstated, to which AstraZeneca has denied those cases. These are 51 cases altogether lodged in the High Court seeking damages of £100 million. And now that this acceptance has come, it's likely they will have to pay those damages. The first case, according to this Indian Express article, was lodged in 2023 by one Jamie Scott, who was left with a permanent brain injury after developing a blood clot that then caused a bleed in his brain. His wife has said the medical world has acknowledged for a very long time of what is called vaccine-induced immune thrombosis caused by this particular vaccine. But this is the first time that AstraZeneca has actually accepted. So now they're hoping that things will move more quickly. Now, this is what AstraZeneca has said. They have said, our sympathy goes out to anyone who has lost loved ones or reported health problems. Patient safety is our greatest priority. I'm just going to highlight that now. My producer found a way to make the screen larger. There you are. Patient safety is our highest priority. Regulatory authorities have clear and stringent standards to ensure safe use of all medicines, including vaccines. According to the World Health Organization, the vaccine was safe and effective for individuals aged 18 and above. The adverse side effects that have been prompted are very rare. So that's where we are right now, and this is so. There's no, excuse me, that's the dog. So there's been no response, particularly in India. Now, India heavily used Covishield. I used Covishield twice. So that's really the question is, are we paying attention to what it's doing to Indians? Is there anyone looking into it? So far, we haven't seen anything. And this is sort of just in that same vein, right, of the Everest masalas and the cough syrups that we're giving children and all of the other, the other problems that we're having with our food stuff right now, because our Indian regulators are not being careful enough. And we're hearing about all of this from overseas, but what's happening now for our Indian regulators and why aren't they checking on this? They should be looking into it. That's the question I have in my mind right now. But I'm going to read out some of your questions. Sandy says, you and Ravish are awesome people. Thank you, Sandy. Violet says, unvaccinated. Wow, how did you manage that? Dobby says, all doctors knew about this side effect and went ahead and got jabbed anyway. Gaurav says it may be a placebo effect. Shreyas says, I had a doubt, what kind of pressures can the central government apply on Supreme Court? That's actually, that's a difficult question to answer because there's no evidence to answer that question with. But we'll circle back to it. It's about basically how you can offer positions to judges after they retire from Supreme Court and what you can give them, to keep life interesting for them after. So it's not so much stick as pressure, but carrot is what can be offered to them. Now, Soham has said, which one is more unhealthy, the vaccine or bone vita? See, now I have a slightly contrarian view here, right? At that time, when we were in the middle of COVID and people were dying and we needed to find ways to keep people safe, I think there was a collective sort of understanding across the world that once we get to a certain level of efficacy on the vaccine, that we should start using it immediately. And there was no way in that short period of time to actually figure out what those side effects were going to be. So to give you an example, this is my understanding, right? Normally when pharmaceutical companies are testing drugs, they do control groups where basically they actually study every possible reaction a person can have over a period of time. Now within COVID, because things were being turned around so quickly, I feel that it might have been difficult to have established all of this. And I think there might have also been a tendency among regulators of various countries to cut corners and get there faster, because that was just the kind of urgency that we had at that point. Having said that, though, I still believe that in India, at least, there were many questions that should have been asked and answered that were not asked and answered, even so. And I think that is a problem. Agent X says, will it cause heart attack to everyone or in rare cases? So it's causing, so apparently in very, very rare cases, it could cause blood clots. So, while this is concerning, I think that we should remember this is not going to happen to everyone. BJP won unopposed in Indore and in Khajuraho, just like Surat. It's sad that Covishield was preferred by people in India over Covaxin at the time just because Western countries were using Covishield, says VMR. There is no proof also, for example, that Covaxin was any safer in that case because in India we're not checking enough. And I don't think there's anybody doing a control group study of people who've taken the vaccine and connections in any way to any sort of the stories that we're hearing since then. Thomas Kavita one says, I just joined in, but did they know this before they released the vaccine, or is it a recent finding? So that actually would be an interesting, that's the most important question, Kavita. We'll have to wait and see. This is actually coming out of the UK, so we'll have to wait and see if there is an investigation that will tell us whether they knew this already and at what level they knew. So did just the company know? Did the regulators know? Did various countries know? And then, we'll be able to answer that question. Ask my producers to tease this on Instagram as well, if they can, please. So we can get more people joining us. So that's that story, of course, the first story that we're talking about. This is the second story, and this one is really interesting. Now, you remember that the Supreme Court had really pulled up the state governments that were not looking into Patanjali drugs adequately. And now we understand that Uttarakhand, where a lot of these drugs are being manufactured, has now revoked the licenses of 14 Patanjali drugs because it's lacking in process. So the Uttarakhand government on Monday, and I'm reading this from the Hindu, has informed the Supreme Court that it has suspended the license of 14 products sold by Patanjali Ayurved and Divya Pharmacy. And it's also declared a promise to the Supreme Court that it would commit no deliberate or willful act that will disobey any of the orders of the court. This is where we are at this point. We have state governments that are having to promise the court that they will not disobey anything the court is saying. It just goes to show you who the state government is actually serving here. If this is where we are right now. So basically, they've said the suspension has taken place for repeated violations of regulations, particularly concerning misleading advertisements. And this is the list of drugs, if you can see it, that have been banned. Mostly about misleading advertisements, but there's an eye drop, there's eye grit gold, livogrit. There's a lot of like liver sort of tablets or medication. And there's lipidome, there's like various other, you can look this up, look at this list. This is actually interesting. It was also informed that at the 16th of April 2024, the drug inspector, district Ayurvedic, and the Unani officer Haridwar filed a complaint before the chief magistrate against Ramdev and Divya Pharmacy and Patanjali for violating sections 3, 4, and 7 of the DMR Act. And this is all in response to the Indian Medical Association filing a case against Patanjali, basically for misleading and saying that, medicines can take you nowhere and you really need to take Ayurveda, and this happened during COVID. And now we're seeing sort of the results of that. So fundamentally, the story is this: 14 licenses of Patanjali drugs have been suspended by or revoked by the Uttarakhand government, and the Uttarakhand government has promised the Supreme Court that it will not do anything deliberately to disobey the court. Let me see. Who else do we have here? We have Karthik Chakravarti, who says the death of 2030 drastically increased, 23 to 30, I'm assuming that's the age group, drastically increases. This news worries a lot. So GM says, remember the sheer amount of vitriol and abuse directed towards Covaxin. The point is, it is the Russian vaccine where the only ones were based on traditional vaccine technology. Shreyas, in other news, it said the Election Commission has not published the voter count details of 2 phases like they used to before. There was a delay, but let me check with my team if the voter count has come out. So Sagar says, I think the FSSAI should start testing Patanjali projects. I think they should start testing all products. I mean, the fact that, something serious has to happen to get them to get off their butts and actually do something about it is shocking. This is their job. So they wait until another country discovers that there's a problem with one of our products, and then they start random testing. It's atrocious behavior. ARB says there have been no known cases internationally while it was tested. So lots of problems there. We're going to now move on to another story. This one is interesting. Politics now, guys. We're in the middle of elections. A lot of this is going to be happening. Amit Shah has given a Modi guarantee on reservation, and he said that BJP will not allow anybody to remove the reservations of SC, ST, OBC, that the BJP is actually a protector of reservation. Now, he's reacting largely, let me tell you, that they were these morphed, sort of doctored AI. AI was used to doctor some visuals of Amit Shah and put it out, in which he has talked, basically making it seem, if I'm not mistaken, that they will remove all reservation. But he's now come out to say that that is not true. The BJP has no intention of removing reservation, and they are in fact protectors of reservation. He's gone on to say various things about Rahul Gandhi and Akhilesh Yadav, and but really the operative part of it is this. He says, Rahul Gandhi says if BJP gets 400 seats, it will remove reservation. I want to say that we had a full majority for 2 terms and we did nothing of the sort. So there is a guarantee that we will not abolish reservation, which is really an interesting sort of thing, right? Because it's that tightrope walk. Phoebe, stop it. So it's a tightrope walk because a large portion of the BJP's support base tends to be upper caste Hindus who are anti-reservation. So it's interesting to see how they will react to this particular information. Moving on to another story. Let me see. So Prajwal Revana, of course, this is that next story that we should be looking at. Prajwal Revana's explicit videos. Suspended over explicit video case, direct role of Karnataka government leaders claims Uncle Kumaraswamy. Now, of course, you remember, like I told you yesterday, H.D. Devagowda's party is the JDS. He has two sons, H.D. Kumaraswamy, who has now made the statement, and the other son is Revana. The grandson is Prajwal Revana. Now, Prajwal Revana has been suspended from that party because of this really serious case that is now come up of over 2,000 videos of him harassing women. Prajwal Revana's team has claimed that these are morphed visuals, but in the meantime, his uncle has suspended him from the party. He's also said, Kumaraswamy has also said that the duration of the suspension will be until the completion of the investigation by the SIT. If allegations against him are proved, he will be suspended permanently. He has also said that this is a conspiracy to spoil the family name using the issue by largely the Congress party. He said their objective is not to protect women. They're using this case to spoil Devagowda's name and Kumaraswamy's name. What is the connection with Devagowda and Kumaraswamy? So here's the important. What is the connection? So what he's saying, in fact, he's not defending or denying what Prajwal Revana might have done. He's saying that, boss, there's no connection with us. Don't drag us into it. Don't drag Devagowda. Don't drag me into it. We've not done anything. There's no connection between the Prime Minister and this case. There's no connection between Devagowda and this case. So very interesting sort of, statement here. He also says, what is the connection between the Prime Minister? Now, the sticky part here for the BJP and the NDA is that the Prime Minister actually campaigned for Prajwal Revana in Hassan and said that, votes that you give Prajwal Revana will strengthen, my campaign. And so that has now become a slightly sticky wicket for the BJP because also remember a senior BJP leader from Hassan wrote a letter in December to the state president of the BJP saying, I have seen these videos. There are nearly 3,000 videos. They're terrible if they come out. If we choose this man as a candidate, it will tarnish our image as a party. It will tarnish our image as a national party. We should not do this. So it is clear now that the state BJP president was aware. And nevertheless, they went ahead and named this guy a candidate. And he became a candidate. And now all of this has come out as predicted. Now, the BJP has said that the Devraj Gowda, the man who wrote that letter, actually wanted that seat, which is why he was writing that letter. But let's be honest. What he said has turned out to be true, right? So it does seem like the BJP did ignore, that sort of warning. Let's take a look at the JDS. Kumaraswamy now saying, hey, this has nothing to do with me, but it seems impossible if the BJP knew about it, that the JDS themselves did not know about it, and they've chosen not to do anything about it. They've chosen until now not to do anything about it. It's been going on for years and years and years. It's despicable. I am Kannadiga. I am now paying attention to what a lot of the local media is carrying in terms of stories. Remember, there is a injunction brought on publishing any of these videos. So none of us have seen the videos. Prajwal Revana has managed to get a local court to basically prevent any of the press from reproducing or publishing those videos. But from what we understand, despicable behavior of harassing not just young women, middle-aged women, elderly women, getting them to perform sexual acts on camera and using those visuals then to blackmail them. Absolutely unthinkable that something like this would happen and would be allowed to carry on for so long, and everybody in power would just stand and watch. Let me give you a hierarchy of people who have done nothing about it. First, to begin with, Uncle Kumaraswamy, who was chief minister, grandfather H.D. Devagowda, former prime minister, did continue to allow these people to be MLA, MP, and use their power to abuse women. The local Congress government in the state, it is impossible that you did not know. You did nothing about it. These were your allies at one point, at which point you did nothing about it. Now suddenly you've decided to place the SIT because it suits you politically. Importantly, the BJP and the NDA, you've chosen to, ally with these people. You were warned. It was very clear in December last year. You went ahead with it anyway. Let me point out to you now, the JDS has suspended this person. The man has been suspended by his own uncle, but he remains a candidate of the NDA and an ally of the BJP. So they've not come forward to say, hey, you know what, we don't want to be associated with this guy. We are suspending this alliance, or we are suspending this particular candidate. He no longer represents us. Whether he wins or loses is not our problem anymore. He is done. What you're giving up? One seat. Obviously, even that one seat is something they don't want to give up. And that is why I think this is a very serious case, and this is a massive problem. And we need to actually, I mean, for those of us in Karnataka, we need to look at our politicians very clearly for what they really are. And across the country also, as you can see, it's really massively a problem. Reading some of your comments at this point, Abby says your dog doesn't like particular news. My dog has a huge opinion, as she's always had from the beginning. Karthik says to counter what they've done with EWS, electoral bonds. If things get ugly, it looks like the JDS might shift their alliance to the Congress, just like Nitish Kumar. But really, then again, I will ask a question about why the Congress is willing to ally with this party. Prajwal had acquired a gag order through Karnataka High Court and hence made it impossible to report his media conduct. This gag order is for the term when the judge prohibits attorneys and parties or witnesses of a pending lawsuit to talk about the case in public. Yes, Gaurav, thank you for that information. The Congress will not get into an alliance. Shreya says, do you think the JDS is over? Devagowda is old. Revana and his son image is dusted. Nikhil is irrelevant. The only person actually with your Kumaraswamy, you're right. He has some goodwill. And now after this, I don't know how much of that goodwill will remain. But remember, after the last state election, he said he was exhausted and he didn't want to do this anymore. So that would be interesting. Joel said this girl journalist is too pure. Thank you so much. Aditya Thackeray also raped thousands of women. Well, you know what? There's no evidence to that. So I'm not going to, we're actually talking here with hard evidence. So I'm not going to, pull that any forward because I do believe we should have evidence before we talk about anything, at least as a journalist. Okay, then we have this story. This is the Prime Minister today speaking. I think he was speaking in... He's addressing so many rallies on a daily basis. I'm having trouble actually tracking where he is right now. Yeah, he's speaking in Maharashtra. Yes. He's speaking in Maharashtra. So basically what he said today is that earlier when there was a Mumbai terror attack, the previous Congress government sent a dossier to Pakistan. So dossier would basically be, you put together all of the evidence that you have through your investigation and you send it to Pakistan saying, this is the hard evidence that we have. Please give us the guys who are accused. Of course, Pakistan never gives us anybody, but that's what he's referring to. And he said that, he goes on to say, during the Congress regime, the news headlines were all about India handing over another dossier to Pakistan. I'm reading the Deccan Herald right now. That was big news, and some of our media friends used to clap when the dossier was sent. Today, India doesn't send dossiers. Aaj Bharat ghar mein ghus ke marta hai, he says, and he's talking about surgical strikes. Today, the headlines read, Naya Bharat, Mission LOC, India punishes Pakistan to surgical strikes. He's also gone on to say that the India bloc has come up with a formula where a different person will be prime minister every year if they come to power. He also talked about how they've auctioned the post. Then he's talked about how they want to make people prime ministers in installments. And, he says our country, people have always been hardworking and talented, but the Congress party has committed the sin of crushing their dreams. It's very interesting, though, that the Prime Minister is referring to Ghar mein Ghuske Marenge of Pakistan. He is not saying anything about China, although there continues to be reports of China, building infrastructure very close to our borders, of actually skirmishes, as we know that happened in Galwan Valley. Arunachal Pradesh, Siachen, now we've heard that they're building a road really close by. This was a story in India today. There's no mention of that in these speeches, of course. And you know that there's also right now in the US and Canada accusations that India has been, actually ordering assassinations of people without the knowledge of the country. And this is something that India has not confirmed in any way, but there was another story about that came out this morning in, I think it was, I think it was the Washington Post that actually said that that the RAW had actually ordered a killing. So this is the Washington Post, and since nobody else has picked it up, we're not actually reading through that article right now. Another thing that the Prime Minister said today when he was speaking in Medak district in Telangana, he said that if the Congress wins, that they will impose a 55% inheritance tax. So there's sort of a change of gear in the way the PM is addressing, a lot of this, where he's talking about. And I'm reading the Deccan Herald again, but it's a lot of don't vote for the Congress because then this terrible thing will happen, and a lot of what is being said as these terrible things will happen is not in the manifesto, but in this particular case with the 55% inheritance tax, this was actually mentioned in Sam Petroda mentioned it in an interview that he gave ANI. Now, Sam Petroda is not an technically it's not in the manifesto, but he is considered a close advisor to the Gandhi family. So one could assume that if he's saying it, that there would be some influence of that sort on the Gandhi family. But let me also point out that there is a history to inheritance tax. India used to have an inheritance tax that was abolished by Rajiv Gandhi in 1983. After 1983, there's been no inheritance tax in India, but the matter was actually brought up again by Jayant Sinha, who was the junior minister of finance in the first BJP government of 2014. He actually brought it up, saying India should consider an inheritance tax. And post that, there have been some rumbles about it, but we don't have an inheritance tax. And so the 55% inheritance tax is what the US has. In India, we have no inheritance tax at all, and there's no clarity as to the idea with inheritance tax is to tax the very, 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 very rich who are able to pass on like large amounts of money to their family members. And by placing that tax, you're able to sort of balance that imbalance, which is what the US does. In India, we don't do it yet, and I felt that that was sort of a clarification that we should go through also. Let me see what else we have before I go to the T20 World Cup. The Supreme Court today has asked the ED to sort of justify the timing of Arvind Kejriwal's arrest. And I just want to go through this one quote coming from the court, which is, liberty is exceedingly important, and you can't deny that. In India, in a democratic country, our fundamental freedom is the most important thing. The last question with this regard is the timing of the arrest. So why have you arrested him so close to the general elections is a question that the court has asked the ED, and the ED is to respond by Friday. Again, we have a reaction from Home Minister Amit Shah on Prahlad Rana, who said it cannot be tolerated, but why has the Congress government in Karnataka not taken action up till now? The Home Minister was addressing a press conference, and he said, and I'm quoting what he said, it cannot be tolerated. He then went on to say, the Congress wants to accuse us. I ask a small thing. Whose government is there? The Congress government. The videos would have been in your knowledge. I was just saying this. The videos would have been in your knowledge and released at such a time. Till now, why has the Congress party not taken any action? The proceedings did not have to be done by us. Law and order is a state issue. Priyanka Gandhi is asking questions of us. Instead, she should be asking questions of her own chief minister. This is what the Home Minister has said when addressing a press conference today. In the meantime, India has announced its World Cup squad. Hardik Pandya is going to be a vice captain. We also have Sanju Samson, Chahal have also got spots. This is the T20 World Cup. And of course, Shubham Gill, Rinku Singh is also part of that. Hardik Pandya will be the vice captain. And of course, the big question of Rohit Sharma, he continues to be the captain of that side. This is a story that's coming in. It's live right now, and it's currently developing across London. There was a man in his 30s, and these are visuals that are coming in from across London. The situation has now, apparently, these are latest updates, being taken under control. It's now not a problem. This is the BBC that I'm reading out of. A 14-year-old boy has died, and 5 others have been injured in an attack where a 36-year-old man was actually wielding a huge sword and attacking people randomly on the street. He had to be tased 22 times before he was arrested. He's no longer a threat to public because he has been arrested. And this is, he was brandishing a sword, approaching people's homes, pursuing a man as he broke into people's gardens and hurt individuals, of which one young boy, 14 years old, has now died of those injuries. Those are visuals coming in. Terrible story, terrible state of affairs, really, coming in from London. Some visuals you can see there of this man with the sword, of the sword attack of London, which the police have taken into custody right now. Just reading out some of your... let me see. Somnath Sen says people are so gullible. Had the CPIM allowed Jyoti Basha to become PM, probably nobody would have known Devagowda. A lot of people on the internet are too young to know that, Somnath, of what happened at that time and how Devagowda became the Prime Minister and took Ragi Mudde to Delhi for the first time and napped in most meetings. But he's considered a very erudite and sharp politician in Karnataka. He remains a sharp politician. But he's in his 90s. He's not able to campaign anymore. He's not active per se like that anymore. Once in a while on his birthday, a bunch of journalists wind up in his house and there are photographs of him reading the newspaper and drinking his coffee and doing his yoga, which he does. So he's that way still sharp and clear thinking, but he's not an active politician. His son Kumaraswamy remains active. His other son, now completely tainted. Grandson completely tainted as well. That brings us actually to the end of the news as we're reading it. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been fascinating to actually have this conversation with you. We're working on a lot of interesting work. So a couple of requests. One, please like this stream. Come in every day at 7:30. We'll read the news together. I'd love to know what you think. Gaurav says, do you trust the EVM? So honestly, I don't have the evidence to not trust the EVM. There's no evidence been made available to us. We have no choice at this point. So that is where I am. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Also, if you can, please join our membership. There are 3 tiers. Pick the one that's comfortable for you. It will actually support us and it will help us do better work for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30.